Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Patricia Washington, Marketing Director at GenCare Lifestyle, the Lodge at Eagle Ridge. Thank you for joining us today for Welcome to Downsizing Simplified. So we're going to wait just a few minutes to see if there are a few more people that are going to join us this afternoon. I did want to point out that this session will be recorded. We will have it posted on our blog if you want to share it with friends or family. We'll also have it on our website. And then, of course, we'll send a survey following the event if you'd like to provide feedback about today's downsizing seminar. During the event, you can enter questions in our chat box. So if you have questions along the way, Liz and Terry will be happy to address them. We'll try to keep an eye out for any questions that you may have, but don't hesitate to jot down anything that you have, type it into the chat box. We'll get back to you. Also, any questions about GenCare? We have 6 locations. And so if you have questions about our communities, we're happy to get back to you on that also. So just a little start, just to review. I see someone trying to get into the waiting room, so we'll have another couple people join us. Just a little background on GenCare. Our focus is whole life living. We are a month-to-month retirement community with options including independent, assisted, and some memory care locations. So with our 6 locations, feel free. If you're looking in this area, we appreciate you reaching out to us. Our focus is, of course, on whole life living. So we have whole foods cooked from scratch, daily, vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options. In addition, we have a full-time personal trainer. And then, of course, activities, transportation, everything you could look for in a community. So we appreciate you joining us today because we know how challenging downsizing can be. We're hoping that our presenters will help you with helpful tips to allow you to transition when the time comes to a beautiful community, and we hope you'll consider GenCare. And there we go. And we've had a couple more people join us. Also, I'd like to introduce Liz Baker and Terry Denend. They're both from Rightsizing for Seniors. I really appreciate the work they do. They'll tell you a little bit about themselves and how they've helped many people over the years transition to retirement living. Thanks, Terry and Liz.
Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your rainy afternoon to join us. I'm glad we get to see some of your faces in the corner. I'm Liz Baker with Rightsizing for Seniors. Terry started the business back in 2015, Terry?
2013.
2013 with one of her best friends, Sue, and I was one of their first hires in 2015. And I have loved working for them and downsizing and working with our seniors for all these years. And Terry decided last year that she kind of wanted to phase out business ownership. So she was kind enough to offer me to buy the business. And so we've kind of switched some roles, but we basically still do things exactly like we were doing. We are senior move managers, and our business is to assist primarily seniors when they are relocating, or if they want to age in place and they want to make their home safer and tidier. But our main focus is folks that are moving, and we assist them with the downsizing process. It's overwhelming a lot of times to think about moving. People have been in their homes for a very long time. We do the downsizing, sorting with clients, helping them rehome their items. And then if they are moving, we are also their packers and unpackers. So our goal for our clients is to say, you'll be done by dinner. You'll be all moved into a beautiful community such as GenCare. You can come in at the end of the day, put your feet up, your bed will be made, your kitchen will be put away, your pictures will be hung. So our main focus is just to help seniors either when they're transitioning where they live, or if they're going to be staying in their homes and they just feel overwhelmed by years and years of items and they don't really know how to downsize on their own. Terry, do you want to say anything?
No, I say thank you, Liz. That was a very thorough explanation of right sizing. And I always tell our clients, some of them, oftentimes we have repeat clients, that the original partner with me, Stu McCullough, and myself started again the business in 2013. And I've always told people that Liz is the best of both Sue and I. So you're getting the best when you hire Rightsizing for seniors, that's for sure.
Thank you, Terry. So normally we do our presentations in person. So it's nice to see some of your faces. I see Helen, I see Jody. I feel like I'm doing Romper Room, if anybody remembers that old TV show. So we're just going to kind of go through our slides, and like Patricia said, please leave your questions in the chat section, and we are happy to go back and answer any individual questions that you have. So we'll just kind of get right into it. Uh-oh, am I not chancing? No. Oh,
Nope. Back.
I know. I get to going too fast here. There we go. Sorry. My mouse is a little bit slow. So you're all here for a specific reason. You probably feel like maybe you'd like to organize or declutter. So here's some of the basic things that we find are benefits from starting and going through this process. One of them is less stress. We often hear from our clients that if they're cluttered or overwhelmed, they might even feel a little bit embarrassed about having people come to their home because maybe they feel like their items in their home have taken over versus them being in charge of their house. Of course, it's easier to tidy up when you don't have items on all the different surfaces in your house. More space. It clears your mind, right? Because being cluttered, cluttered home is a cluttered mind. It keeps your home cleaner. Obviously, it's a safer environment for any folks who have any mobility issues. You want to make sure that there's not clutter on the floor where it could be a tripping hazard. And also, excuse me, in terms of heirlooms, you're making the decision to place those in the hands of somebody who really wanted them and is actively seeking them out versus having those decisions made for you at a later time. All right. My mouse is just going very slowly. Okay, so what is holding you back? These are all questions just to ask yourself as we're going along. A lot of people, like I said before, feel very overwhelmed by the process, so they just don't do it. They just walk away from it. A lot of folks feel emotionally attached to their items. Maybe you're holding on to something that was your great-grandmother's, and you feel the obligation to hold on to those things, even though you're not valuing them and using them. You feel like I might need that someday. I might use that someday, but maybe that day hasn't come in quite a bit of time. You simply can't make decisions. You have physical limitations that keep you from, getting into all of your cupboards and closets and under your bed. And you probably know, if you've started the process at any time, that it can be exhausting emotionally to go through this process. I'm sure none of you have this, but we have some clients that have unrealistic expectations of the value of their things. Therefore, they're very hesitant to let those things go. And you simply don't know where to start. Boy, this is going to be okay. So the benefits of living with less are a positive attitude. You feel proud and happy about your space. It's mentally freeing. You are in control of your possessions. Sorry, my mouse is just being stinky. Yeah. Sorry. Am I with them? You have excitement and energy from changing your old habits and patterns, which would be maybe holding on to things that you really don't need to. And you have gratitude for the things that you actually have.
So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about maybe just how one can get started. And what we often tell people is that it's really important to begin with the end in mind. So making some sort of a plan. That previous slide was just showing your home today and your home tomorrow. So whether you're contemplating moving to a retirement community or just decluttering in your own space to make it more attractive, easier to get around, safer, it's helpful to have some sort of a plan with the end in mind. If you don't do that, you just have this kind of feeling that my bathroom's kind of cluttered and I can't use all the surface spaces, and I should probably get in here one day and clean it. And then that day, of course, never comes. So you need a much more concrete plan. So when we're working with our clients, oftentimes they are in fact moving. Now that makes it pretty simple because maybe they've already chosen their retirement community and they actually even know that the room they're moving to. So it's easy then for them to know that they're moving from a 4-bedroom house to a 1-bedroom with a den. They're moving from this very spacious kitchen with lots and lots of storage to this much smaller space. So they can start to plan to how to actually downsize because they know where they're going and what to do with the stuff. So you can still do that in your own home. And we'll talk about some of the tips about how to do that. But again, stressing here that if you have a plan, that's what you need to start with. Begin with the end in mind.
Okay, hold on. 2 clicks. Sorry, it's just not wanting. What if I just do a real gentle? Okay, how to get started. There's no right or wrong way to get started. Everybody's individual in terms of how they go about, sorting or cleaning or whatever they do. We just say you just have to do it. One of the important things to do that you can do is to make an appointment with yourself. So we can all procrastinate and say that we're going to do something next week, next month. But we suggest that you make an appointment with yourself. Treat it like you have a dentist appointment, you have lunch with your girlfriend. Put it on your calendar. Next Tuesday between 11 and 1, I am going to sort XYZ. Turn off your phone, commit to this appointment just like how you would commit to an appointment with anybody else. You're just as important as an appointment that you would make with somebody outside of your home. Start with an easy area. We all have areas in our homes that really bother us. It might be your office, it might be your kitchen. But in order to get your momentum going and build your confidence, you can start with a room that's kind of less important in your house. Maybe you have a guest room that's just, okay, it's not looking the way that you like. Maybe you've used it to store some things in. Pick a room or a space that you can have an easy win on, because once you start doing it, you'll build your confidence and you'll believe in your ability to make decisions about things. And then you can tackle some of your more difficult, challenging spaces. We also suggest that if you're working in a room, or maybe it's your dining room or your living room, clear your surface areas first. Work on those spaces that you can clear off so you can see a space underneath that can be your work area. Then after you've cleared the surface spaces, then you can start digging into your closets and your cupboards and your drawers. And also telling yourself that you're focusing on the items that you want to keep instead of items that you're letting go, because saying that you're going to get rid of things, or even just saying donate, we like to use the word rehome. Things that you're donating or letting go, somebody else is going to actively seek those items out. So if you approach a space that you're sorting with, I am looking for the things that I want to keep, the other things just will naturally be the things that you're going to be letting go. Let's see. So the big spaces and the big categories that we find that people really can have a lot of success on are clothes, paper, consumables, which is, you know, pantry items, packages of toilet paper from Costco, things that you're going to use, but eventually will be used and you won't have them anymore, and books.
So we're going to talk about some tips with working with these 4 biggies. And when it comes to your clothes, there's, again, like Liz said, you just pick an area to start with. And for clothes, when we're working with clients, we will often gather all of the clothes, a certain type of clothes, let's say, from all of the areas of the house. So many of you have been in your homes many years, and the kids are long gone, and you've kind of taken over those spaces. So your clothes are not only in your own closet, they're in closets throughout the house, wherever you have a hanging rod. So we often maybe just start with coats. And you have coats not only in your coat closet, but you have them in other areas as well. So if you just only go through the coat closet, you're going to keep, because you will have forgotten that you have these other winter coats, for example, or, you know, you end up deciding I only need one dressy coat, and I'm willing to just keep one, but you keep the one in the closet because you forgot you had the ones in the other one. So gather up the like items that you have in your closet and go through them. And we use black slacks as an example. So whatever the season and however you sort your clothing, gather up all your black slacks. Then you can start to go through them. And again, this is where having a plan ahead of time helps. So you've made a plan on how your decision process is going to go. And so maybe your decision is, and we highly encourage this, anything that's too big or too small goes. We don't encourage people to keep anything that's too big, for heaven's sakes, get rid of it. For things that are too small, people think that I'm going to go on that diet tomorrow and I'm going to get into those. And if that's true, then you should reward yourself with a new fresh pair of black slacks that look like $1 million and are currently what's fashionable. So those just go away. And of course, anything that's frayed, broken, the zipper doesn't work, you were going to fix it. Those are all kind of low-hanging fruit. So those just go off of your pile. And of course, you are immediately putting them into a plastic bag so it can go off to the donation center, your donation center of choice right away. So the other thing we like to have people do as far as clothing goes is if you know you're moving into a retirement community, then you can measure the rod space. And maybe you have figured out that I have, which sounds very generous, 25 feet of rod space. Wow, these huge walk-in closets. Look at all this I have. But then you go back to your own house and you measure the rod space in all the bedrooms and in the downstairs area, and you have one in your laundry room, and you go, I've got 40 feet of rod space full of clothing. Now you know concretely what you need to get down to. You can't have more than 25 because that's what you measured and that's what you're moving into. If you're just trying to declutter in place, then it helps to have, once again, that end in mind. So if you want to have a plan that says, I want all of my clothes that I wear in my main bedroom. I don't want them spread out through the house anymore. So you measure your clothes space that you have in your main bedroom, and that's what you know you have to downsize to. So that's just a tip, and I don't know if Liz can add on if she's got some other tips with doing the clothing. But at where I use black slacks for an example, but the same thing with you've got your bras that you wear, and we know those are the ones we wear. Of course, in that other cupboard over there, we've got all those ones that we think we might wear someday. Occasion comes, and we just have to be honest with ourselves and give ourselves permission that it's okay to let that go. That day's not going to come, whether it's our size, our I mean, just our bodies, I mean, whatever. We're not going to use those anymore. So let someone else have them and use them.
And try them on. It's tiring. I've had to do it with my own things. I've had to just strip down to my underwear and stand there and try on my 6 pairs of long sleeve or 6 long sleeve t-shirts, you know, and, you know, ratty, doesn't fit, stretched out, it goes. But, you know, if it's something you haven't worn in a while, don't just hold it up and think, yeah, I think this still looks good on me. Try it on. Do you feel good in it? If not, let somebody else enjoy it.
Yeah. Is it comfortable?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the next one is books. Pretty, you know, straightforward, kind of the same with clothes. A lot of times we have books in the office. We have books in maybe the guest bedroom. Maybe we have books in our bedroom. It can be kind of difficult to gather all your books together. So these are things that you can just sort maybe in that room that they're in. But a couple questions to ask yourself are, is this information that I can obtain elsewhere? Can I obtain it on the internet? Do I need to keep this gardening book or this cookbook? If I want to read it again, I'm going to read that book again. I really liked it. Do I have to actually hold on to that book, or can I obtain it from my local library? Unless you have some very, you know, valuable, old, cherished books, most of the books that we keep in our home can be obtained from the library. And resource books, there was a time that that's what we used all the time, but now we can obtain that information from the library. So think of it kind of straightforward that way. Going back to the people feeling that there's value in their items, and of course there is. Books are a really tough one to try to sell. I had a client where I took bins and bins where I had to get a dolly and haul them into half-price books. And I think after 2 trips for me, where I had to go into the store 3 or 4 times, waiting an hour and a half each time, she got a total of $95. So, you know, think realistically. If that's something that's fun to you and you want to go to half-price books and spend a couple hours waiting for them to sort through your items, you can certainly do that. But, you know, think about donating to your local library or recycling when you can.
So another area in the house that seems to grow and grow at times is the pantry, or the area in your kitchen that you've designated for food and spices. That is an area really where we should be routinely going through that and making sure that we, first of all, don't have any expired food in our cabinets, and that we're not keeping food that we know we're not going to be using, and maybe culling out anything that could go elsewhere, so that you've whittled it down so you really only have your food. If you don't have quite as much food stacked up and buried, you'll know what you have. It makes meal planning and using the food a lot easier. And then you can always bring those items, not just your food, but also the other things that we have, you know, saran wrap and tin foil, and, you know, more tin foil that we could use until the end of our lifespan, and take those to the local food bank. They take not only food, and they will take expired food as long as it's not overly expired, but take it to the local food bank. They can use that. They can use not only the food that's coming out of your pantry, but also those other food service items and cleaning supplies as well. I mean, just think about anybody that's going into the store and needing whatever you would buy in the store. The food banks will take those.
And the last one to talk about is paper. Sorry. Oh, thank you. We're done. Sorry about that.
You're getting a preview.
I know. It's my, okay, now we're going to work, huh? Okay. Dealing with your paper. This is one that is very easy to get out of hand. It's very easy for me to get out of hand. You know, if I showed you my kitchen table a couple days ago, you would see mail, junk mail, to-do mail. When you're going to sort your papers, and hopefully you're not keeping them in many spaces of your house, but if you are, that's fair. Make yourself some categories, some bins, bags, baskets, whatever you need, where you can just sit down. One is things that you have to keep and file. One is recycle, that you can put right in your recycle bin. Those are the flyers, the mailers that we all get in the mail, things that are that contain confidential information that you have to shred, and items that are just plain trash. For the most part, most of your paper can be recycled or shredded. Not a lot of it needs to go in the garbage. What I do is I have to pick up my mail outside. I pick it up, I walk through the garage, I stop right at my recycle bin, and I chuck anything, you know, flyers, Fred Meyer ads. I don't even bring them in the house. I don't use them. There's no reason for me to take those things into the house. And realize that the recommendations on how long you need to keep things has changed. So it used to be that we had to keep our tax returns for 7 years, but now it's 3 years, unless you do some kind of special filing if you're claiming a loss. So that's kind of pretty easy to go through, count back 3 years, 4 years, if you feel more comfortable with that. Gather up those tax returns and put them in your shred pile. A lot of the communities that we work with have shredding events. Local counties have shred events. You can shred at Staples, you can shred at the UPS store, put it in a grocery bag, and next time you're out and about, stop in your local UPS store and have them, they'll just take your shredding, they'll put it in a confidential bin for you, and it's gone. It's a nominal charge for you just to get that out of your life. So
just a tip also about don't forget, we do see a lot of our clients throw things in the recycle pile that are not recyclable. And, so the greeting cards that you've saved, a tip for going through those is to sort them maybe by who gave them to you. And so maybe you have, mountains of greeting cards that were from your kids. And so you could sort through them first if you're reluctant just to check them, and then choose just a few out of each of your pile that maybe have personal notes, not just somebody just signing it, or really extraordinarily special, and go ahead and get rid of the rest of those. But then remember that greeting cards that have foil and trinkets on them go in the trash, not in the recycle. So back into the kitchen. There's lots and lots of downsizing that can be done in folks' kitchen. And we kind of have fun with people when we're sorting in their kitchen. We enjoy doing that. So just an example, you don't have to say, I'm going to set aside a whole day to sort through my kitchen. You might get halfway done and you'll get tired, and then you'll have a big mess. That's very defeating. And then you won't feel up to doing it again for another 6 months. So like Liz says, you make an appointment with yourself. Maybe you just start with 2 or 3 hours. If you think you can go a little bit more, go ahead. But even if you think you can keep going, don't do it, because you have to build in. You need to tidy up, get rid of all the stuff you've sorted, make it all look good, and then still have a little bit of energy left. So it's not so exhausting that you think, I'm not going to be able to do that again for weeks. I need to recover. So here's just an example of how many of us have duplicate utensils. And sometimes we won't necessarily know because we keep them all over the kitchen. We have the crocks on top of the counter with our sometimes most used, and sometimes it's just a decoration up there. And then you may have other ones that are throughout the drawers because they just end up in other places. So it's just good to go through all your drawers and gather up like items and just maybe do them one at a time. And so maybe one of your jobs is I'm going to sort through all of my knives. It was fun with this one client that I had who had a rather large kitchen. They were quite surprised how many knives they had after we got them out of all of their various locations. And then from there, just lined them up. Here's bread cutting knives. Here's paring knives. Here's, this kind of knife or that kind of knife. And it was working with both the husband and the wife. And let's remember, for married couples, you may not use a specific kitchen tool, but maybe that's your husband's favorite one. So sometimes it's something you have to do together, or at least consult on. And yeah, whittle those down. You're going to find out I can get by with one bread knife. That's all I need. So there goes 3 out the door right there. Just pick your favorite one. It may not even be the one that's in the best shape, but it's the one that works best for you and it's most comfortable in your hand. So yes, coffee mugs. Who doesn't have too many coffee mugs? I mean, they're in your cupboard and they just have babies in there. They just keep growing. Some little hint for retirement communities that we often give is, oh my goodness, for the welcome gift, don't give people the coffee mug with the name of the community on it. They already have enough. Anyway, that's another easy one. Maybe you need maybe you don't mind when you have company having 6 assorted cups and you no longer entertain like you did. You can just get by with that. They're so easy to wash and reuse again. So whittle them down. They take up a lot of space. Another one that is an easy one to do is just say, today I'm just going to go through all of my Tupperware or food storage items. So you just drag them all out of wherever they are, make sure that every single one of them has a lid. And if you find out you've got, you do use your used yogurt or cottage cheese containers, but you ended up with 30 to 40 of them, and really you could get by with 3 or 4. There's an easy recycle project right there, and there goes lots of stuff and lots of space saved. So you just go through areas of the kitchen like that and just gather up those kinds of like items that you often have spread out all over and you're no longer using, and feel just great about sending usable things off to your donation center. Then we have people who have this or even more vases, and particularly when you're downsizing into a retirement community that's bound to have a much smaller kitchen, you can get by with 3 vases. And so we often just have people keep a small one, a medium, and a large one, and there you go. You're set. Because that's one of the things that you do manage to collect more of those, because people bring you flowers, they send you flowers, and there you are stuck with the flower vases again. So even though you whittle down to 3, it won't be long and you'll be having more than 3 again.
Yeah, and another tip on that is, when you get flowers from the florist, the vases are not really probably your favorites, right? They're pretty plain. You can take those back to your local florist. They're happy to receive the vases back and to reuse them. And then you can also donate them to local hospitals. People bring people in the hospital a bouquet of flowers and then there's nothing to put them in. So often the auxiliary department will hold on to vases. So other tips. So choosing to go room by room, other than when we talked about kind of the 4 big categories of the clothes, books, paper, and consumables. Start room to room. Make yourself successful in one area of your house. And then, like we said before, you will build up the momentum and the confidence to keep going. Work in chunks of time that are comfortable for you. If you can go 3 to 4 hours, that's wonderful. Like Terry said, do account for the cleanup process. It's pretty easy to get stuff all out and categorize it and put it all in piles. And then, now now comes the hard part. Now I've got to decide what I can just put in the garbage can and what I can donate. So if you're going to say I'm going to work for 2 hours next Tuesday, maybe say I'm going to spend an hour and a half doing the sorting, and I'm going to spend another 30 minutes finishing up the project, like cleaning it back up again, because you certainly, if you're sorting all your Tupperware, you don't want to go to make that evening's meal and have that big mess all over the counter. That can be pretty discouraging. Maintain your momentum and keep a schedule. So if you are deciding that you want to commit to the downsizing process for whatever reason, if you feel like, I can work three appointments a week with myself, that's great. If not, if it's once a week is all you can handle, but keep a schedule and maintain that momentum for something that you committed to doing and you wanted to start. So don't let yourself, have one session and then just say, well, I did it. Now I'm just not going to do it again. So make another appointment with yourself. Remove as you go. So if you're sorting your black slacks and you've decided I've got 5 pairs that no longer work for me and I've put them in a garbage bag, put that garbage bag in your car. And the next time you are out and about, you're going to stop at your local charity and give them that item so they can rehome it to somebody else. When we're sorting with clients, we try to remove donation items that day. It makes the home less cluttered. You feel successful. Things are cleaner and tidier. And sometimes we have a tendency to kind of root through those bags again and say, oh, maybe that pair of pants, maybe I am going to lose a little bit of weight and get back into those pants again. Respect that you made a good decision the first time that you did it, and value that you were thinking, you made a decision to let that item go, so follow through with that process. How to let go of sentimental items. Rid yourself of the guilt that you are maybe holding on to other people's items that maybe don't have a value to you. Let yourself be vulnerable to saying, this is a difficult process. I know it. I'm going to have good days and bad days while I'm doing it. You can take pictures of the items that you're letting go. Having a photo album, maybe of you had some memorabilia that you were holding on to. Do you need to keep the physical item or can you let it go? Ask yourself focused questions. Why am I holding on to this? Is it for me? Do I have value in this? Is this making me happy? Am I holding on to it for somebody else because I feel guilty that it was given to me by a family member, but it really doesn't bring me any joy or happiness anymore? You can donate items to local museums. If you have something specific, do some research. There are some very inventive places to donate your items other than just saying, I'm just going to take it to the Goodwill. Keep one of multitudes of items. If you have collectibles, that could be china. Maybe you have grandma's china. Keep a cup and saucer and a salad plate and a bowl, and maybe you can let the rest of those sets go. If you're planning to give somebody a gift, I'm holding this for my kids, I want to give it to them someday. Go ahead and do it now when you are the one who's in control of making that decision. Briefly, ditching the memory without ditching the item, that's taking a picture of it. If you have something that you want to try to be creative on how to repurpose it, this is just an example of some china that was, made into some jewelry for someone. Terry's going to talk about what's hot and what's not. I'm going to plug in my...
We mentioned one of the things that kind of holds people back is they feel very reluctant to donate something or give it to a neighbor. They're obviously much more comfortable if it stays in the family, and if there's someone in the family who wants it, that's cool. And let's pass it down now and have them take it. But knowing the value of your items is really helpful and if you then, it gives you permission that it's just fine and dandy to go ahead and donate that or to give it to somebody who has expressed an interest in having it. So knowing the value of your items is great. And if you are not a shopper at some of the thrift stores, or we kind of use the word Goodwill as like Kleenex, it just means a donation center, right? So, I mean, have you walked through your Goodwill and do you see what stemware is selling for? So yes, it's beautiful crystal. It's attractive. It has a nice little ring to it, and you'll see it there for $1.49 per, and there'll be shelves of it. Right now, if you've experienced this yourself, you've asked your kids, do they want the china? Do they want the stemware? Do they want the sterling silver? And they say no, and triple no. People don't entertain like we used to. They don't want all that fancy serving pieces that are very that are not multifunctional. They just have one little purpose. They take up a lot of room. People don't have as big of homes. And so certainly those big formal hutches and formal dining room tables are difficult to get rid of. Brown, I'll go back to the first one there on the list, which is brown furniture. And it is actually industry term. And most of the time the furniture is actually brown in color, but it does refer to that older wood furniture, and it's usually wood. It's great. And nobody wants that kind of furniture anymore. Grandma's furniture, we could call it. And it doesn't matter that it's real wood. It's just not what people are furnishing their homes with. And so at the very same time, there's a lot of it available. Nobody wants it. So it's hard to get any money for your brown furniture, even if it's in good condition. And don't forget that just because something's old doesn't mean it has a value. So back in the 70s, when collecting antiques, and antiques meaning not stuff that was even 100 years old, was kind of the rage, and that is like so passe. You're not going to be able to sell those things if you have some of those things that you acquired as a younger couple in your marriage, and you've been hanging on to it this long. Just try to rehome that and say goodbye to it. Pianos and organs are practically impossible to get rid of unless you have a Steinway, and then even then it better be lacquered and in perfect condition, where it hasn't been stored in any damp location. It's been regularly tuned and serviced. So if you have those, start spreading the word now, even though you don't think you might be moving for 15 years. It might take you that long to rehome it. And then I say Bradford Exchange anything, but it's all of those companies that mass marketed collectibles, limited edition collectibles, like limited, if you've got number 300 of 1,000 and 1,500, that's not limited. There's 1,500 more of them out there, and nobody really cares for that thing. So whether it's Precious Moments or the Bradford Exchange, the collector plates, the dolls, all of those things, it's not that nobody wants them, they're just not going to pay near what you paid for them. So a good thing just to keep in mind is 10 to 15% of retail is a fair price for something. And then don't forget that I always say, okay, you could buy this right now at X store on sale, because if you think they do have 70% off sales, so something started out at 100 and now you can get it on sale for 30. And so if you can get even half of that, you're ahead of the game. So having said all that, there is still some stuff that people are looking for and will pay really good money for, and that is mid-century furniture, and especially the Danish furniture, even some Lane things that are in good condition. But there's certain mid-century furniture that has been quite popular for quite some time, and it can go for a good amount of money. High-end vintage jewelry. So when I say high-end vintage jewelry, it doesn't mean something that your grandmother bought at the local dime store for $2.99 then. They would have paid really good money for it back then, and it still held its value, that the higher end vintage jewelry. In the same way with vintage designer clothing, think Jackie O kinds of 60s looks like that. Newer, well-made contemporary furniture, if you acquired some of those pieces, I mean, that's exactly what younger people are looking for. They're willing to buy those. For some reason, we have a pretty good luck selling people's chest of drawers, because that's a functional piece of furniture that everybody needs and is still using. And then we mentioned high-end vintage stereo equipment. It's stuff you paid buku bucks for back in the 70s. People are still looking for that kind of audio equipment. And the same thing with cameras, especially the German ones like Leica and other, some of the older Japanese cameras. That's just a little little tip. So finally, if you've got something you want to check on, like your Hummels, you've got a whole collection of your Hummels, and you paid good money for those things. A good thing to do is just to go out on eBay, and the key is to click on sold completed items. You don't look at what people are asking for that. You want to know, what are people willing to pay? So oftentimes we've had our clients and then we're able to sit down with them and show them, look, this Hummel number, 1234, here it's been purchased for $1.99. Oh, somebody paid $8.99 for this one, but that was for free shipping. So they probably lost money on that one. So that's a good tip, is just to go out on eBay, look at what people are actually paying for, not asking.
Well, I don't know if I just did that or somebody, I don't think Leanne's trying to fix us. So luckily we're at the end of there we go. So we're kind of at the end of the presentation. Thanks, Leanne. Take control. You're at that point in your life where you want to be able to make these decisions for yourself. Since we primarily work with seniors, we do come across folks that unfortunately didn't take control of managing their items in their household when they had the opportunity to do it, and their children have stepped in, and therefore they have lost the decision-making capability. So take control of your situation now while you still can. Try not to be overly consumed by finding the right home for every item that you had. Like we said, start asking yourself, what are the things that I want to keep? And the other items are going to be rehomed somewhere else, but try not to fixate on, I'm going to give this specific coffee cup back to the person who gave it to me because I don't want it anymore and I feel bad just donating it. You can get really stuck in the weeds if you really focus on specific homes for all of your items. If your adult children are storing items at your home, which usually when we do our presentation in person, we ask everybody to raise their hand if they're storing any of their adult children's items, and probably half of the room will raise their hands. If your goal is to downsize for yourself, to make your space in your home better for you, then you need to let your adult children know that you're going through this process, and I want you to please have your items removed by this date. And if they don't do that, or they're unable to do that, or they don't want them anymore, then feel free to go ahead and rehome those on your own. Stop acquiring, right? It's not one in, one out at this point if you're really wanting to downsize.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like I'm going to treat myself today. I donated a couple boxes to the Goodwill, but I'm going to poke around in there a little bit on my way just to see if there's something else I want. Stop acquiring items just to give yourself some breathing room, because those items have to be put somewhere, just like everything that you just made all those wonderful decisions to let go. So, and stick to a plan. If this is something that you're committed to doing, put yourself first. You don't have to do it 5 days a week. You don't even have to do it 2 days a week. But if you just decide 1 day a week for however long it takes, I'm going to commit to going through the sorting and downsizing process. And that is the end of our presentation.
And I just checked the chat and I don't see any questions. Leanne, do you have any? Or Patricia?
Thank you so much, Liz and Terry. I don't, but I think you answered a lot of those things. The emotional attachment to items that we collect over the years. I love your suggestion about taking a picture, because oftentimes you're holding on to items, for many years, and it's not even on display, right? It's not like you're looking at it every day. So
Right.
that scrapbooking idea I thought was a great one. And I'm curious, with your clients, what's the average amount of time that you spend with people when you're downsizing a home, like a 3-bedroom home, if they call you to help them go through it?
Well, it's really client driven. We're there to facilitate what they want to happen. So if it was just us sorting on our own, we're pretty darn speedy. But it often takes folks working with a downsizer a few sessions to build up confidence in us, for one thing, to know that they can trust us, that we're going to value their decisions. We're not going to make decisions on our own. But it really depends on the client, how speedy they are at making decisions. So I don't know if we could say an average amount of time, because for the most part, we're sorting and packing at the same time. So if we're downsizing with clients, we're trying to accomplish something else. Most of our clients can't downsize with us for 8 hours a day, but we can certainly work for 8 hours. So if we only get 2 to 3 hours of sorting with them, then we spend the rest of the day packing, gathering up things that are going for donation. But it really does depend on the client's decision-making capabilities. But we do tell folks that, you might work with us or somebody else or on your own for a couple hours, and you might feel a little discouraged because you haven't built up that momentum. But when we're working with folks, we try to make it humorous. We try to make it fun. We enjoy doing it. So that is reflective of how we work with our clients. And then they build the trust in us.
Yeah,
So,
and we actually enjoy hearing the stories about stuff. Whereas, if you're having your kids help you with it, they've heard all those stories before. They don't have the same level of patience. Yeah, and they're oftentimes what happens when you ask your kids to help you with that. It's all judgmental, and you don't need that. What are you keeping that for? Or vice versa. They're the one that have the emotional attachment to something, and they don't want you to get rid of it, but they won't take it themselves. We've seen both.
oh yeah.
Wonderful. We have a question. Someone's asking, is there a place where they can sell their fine china?
Terry, do you want to take that one?
If you're comfortable with listing things on your own, you can give that a try, whether it's Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace. A lot of our clients who are older adults will have grandkids that can help them with that. And especially if you have china, that's easily, maybe they could even take it away, and they don't mind meeting people at a safe location, like in a parking lot in front of a busy store. But a lot of our clients don't necessarily, they're not comfortable with selling and meeting strangers at their house. And I totally understand and get that. But no, there are, the days of consignment shops, they barely exist, if at all. Just they can't, things don't pencil out for them because the expenses are so high for leasing an actual store. So we don't have any really good answer for that stuff, except especially when it's just a little one-off, you're just trying to get rid of only that and not a whole household of things. Where if people are moving and having a huge amount to dispose of, you can go the estate sale company or the liquidation route. But for just a one-off set of china, ask your family members. You'd
Yeah,
be
and use
surprised.
it. If you have something beautiful, and there's no value in keeping something in a box, in a closet, or in the garage, you're not honoring those items if they don't even see the light of day. So if you have some china, we tell our clients, go ahead and use it. So say if you put it in the dishwasher and put it on the china cycle, it's better if maybe a piece gets broken here or there than it just sitting in a box, never to be used again. So treat yourself. Have your morning cup of coffee in that beautiful cup and saucer, or your afternoon tea. That's another thing about not getting too fixated on finding a home or finding a value for something. But if you love it that much, then cherish it and use it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We have another question. How do you handle clients and their family members when they have an emotional attachment to items?
Well, they have the right to have an emotional attachment to an item. And it's mainly asking, what are your long-term goals? What is your goal? If your goal is that you have an emotional attachment and you don't want to get rid of it, then we'll find a way to make it work. Like Terry said, if we do come across adult children who can get very emotional about things that were from their childhood, that they remember when we did this or we went there, and but we just want folks to remember that you're going through this process for yourself. And if your adult children have that much of a sentimental attachment to an item, because we are talking about just items, not memories, then they can feel free to take that item back with them. But you know, we do this all the time. We've been doing it for a long time. We get to know our clients, and we get to know kind of where their sensitive spots are. If they're getting too tired, most of the time, if we work with clients and they're starting to say, I'm keeping it, we can tell maybe they need a cup of tea or make them a sandwich. They're tired, right? We don't always make the best decisions when we're fatigued. So it's an individual thing. And like we said, it's very client driven. We are just here to facilitate them in accomplishing what they want to accomplish.
And I would just add that if you're starting a downsizing process, then you want to be successful. So you start with all that low hanging fruit, and you don't start with the thing that you have the strongest emotional attachment to, because maybe one side of your brain is saying you don't need that, you don't use it, and the other side is saying but and all this guilt, or I may need it, or you know, my daughter who's only 16 now certainly doesn't want it, but maybe she'll want it when she's 35. I mean, so if you have room for that now, you're going to tuck that away so that it's not junking up your home, and make that decision later when maybe you're in a better place. So again, start out with all the ones that are easier for you to decide. And then just, again, going through that whole process of maybe even writing down, why are you keeping, make yourself a list. Here's why I'm keeping it. Here's why I shouldn't keep it. And at some point you'll probably come to a balance where, yes, this is something I would regret it to my dying day if I ever let go of, maybe it's a piece of framed art or something like that, whatever. Not easy.
No, it's not.
And do you assist families with movers? Like, you do the downsizing. What other services do you provide?
So we do pretty much everything other than the actual physical move, but we certainly do vet movers. We have movers that we're very comfortable working with, that know that, doing a military move is different than moving a senior citizen. So we will hire the movers for the client, or we'll help the clients find a mover, but we do oversee that process. So the great thing about having a move manager is that on your move day, things are really tightly organized. Boxes are packed and labeled. We're ready to go when the movers get there, which saves the clients in cost, because if the movers are standing around or having to pack last minute items, they're charging by the hour. So we do, the sorting, the downsizing, the packing, the unpacking, setting things up for folks. We also partner with an online auction called Max Sold. So we do have the capability to sell estates for clients, but that is very much on a case-by-case basis. Usually a client has to have a significant amount of, valuable sellable items. Value, volume, variety, right? Just like an estate sale company would require. But we do everything but the actual loading and unloading of boxes and furniture. And we also take everything away at the end of the day. So when we're done unpacking clients, we remove all the packing supplies so they don't have to deal with that.
Excellent.
Patricia, I'd like to make a comment. This is Karen. One of the best Christmas gifts I gave my brother was Terry, because he was moving and didn't even know where to start and was so overwhelmed. So I gave him a gift certificate and said, here, this is a professional. She can get you started and help. And I told him I'd help him, but when I realized how much work it was, I kind of backed out.
Oh,
Probably relationship.
Yeah, right.
Thank you,
oh,
Karen.
that is wonderful. And that's great. That's a great recommendation too, just hearing that you've used them also. So I appreciate that. I know Liz did a great job with a client that downsized from a really large home, and she has thanked us every day that she's been at the lodge, saying how smoothly it went. She didn't know how she could do it, but I love the fact that you moved her over time, right? Setting up her home at the lodge before she was able to let go of all the other things, right?
Yeah. She did a good job too. She really did.
Okay, any other questions? Well, I want to thank Terry and Liz for a great presentation, for answering all of our questions, and for really motivating us. I think we're all motivated to get into those closets or start with the drawer and just,
Start with the drawer. That's honestly tonight, it's my utility drawer that's in my, I was like, you know what, I can sort that tonight while I'm watching TV. It's you feel a lot better when you do it. People will realize that once they get started. Just doing something small like a drawer is a great idea, Patricia.
oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. The recording will be available through our blog and on our website. So if you want to share it, and don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need more contact information for Terry and Liz. Okay, thank you, ladies.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Here.